It's a lovely, lovely, lovely day. Hello, people. How are you all doing? You know how we do it on the show. We start by asking that question, how are you? Then we follow by saying, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything, wherever you are. This moment on the earth, listening to us. Yes, this is the Word Cafe Live Show with Amakri Isoboye, your neighborhood word trader. This season is the season for the women, our wives, our sisters, our mothers. Yes, the month of March. That's what we are having today. You're wondering, who are those people in the studio today? Well, let me tell you, I am blessed amongst women. Yes, this is for them. That's why we are doing this particular edition. The month of March, we'll have a lot of women coming into the studio. We're talking about them all the way. What is the theme for this International Women's Day? Breaking the barriers. Whoa, that's what we have. That's what we have. Enough said, enough said. So, who are these beautiful faces all around me? I'm going to start with they're all podcasters for your information. Yes, they are my partners, not in crime, but in this success that we are producing every day. I have Kenny Day. We call her Kenny Crown. She's here. Wonderful. You're welcome, Kenny Day. Then we have
Hello, hello, beautiful
Olu
people.
Olabode, the purpose midwife. Don't worry, you will hear from her very soon. You're welcome. You're welcome. We have Ifoma Omoni. She is the voice behind At Home with Ifeno. We'll hear from her very soon. And we also have MM Okwashi. She's an educationist. You know, when you hear her speak, you will know we have women in that element, you know. So before I do anything, I will just allow them to say one or two things, then we hit the road running. I start with Kende. Go ahead. Tell us something about yourself.
Hi, everyone. It is such a privilege to be among wonderful women. I mean, powerful women, my superhero, my fellow builders. I say that and I say that intentionally because God has called us into the fold. We carry the womb, of success and we birth them to life. So what do? I am structured to intentional living. However, the purpose at which God created me is to make sure that I propel people to action from confinement into a place of fulfilling their purpose. And I do this in different ways. I have an Father podcast in which I bring in guests to speak about their past or whatever that has put them on a limitation limitations and how they were able to scale through into living intentional living, just to encourage other people who are going through the same issues and thinking that no, I just want to stay right here. But we are saying no, no, no. We are here to propel you, to tell you that it's time to rise up to be who God wants you to be. And apart from that, I also host a Monday motivation, and this is just a dose. It is between 10 to 12 minutes of YouTube video where I encourage people every Monday to be their best at their place of work, especially in their productivity. So, and also I'm a author. By the grace of God, I'm able to author a book called Intentional Living. And this is where we speak about, your untapped identity, the inheritance that you have in your identity that you've not tapped into. So in there, you have intentional mindset, you have intentional stewarding, which is to raise your child. You have everything that has to do with lifestyle generally is in the book. You can be intentional about it. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. And in the meantime, God is not calling me into raising youth, to understand the identity so that they can break the barriers of life, what life is bringing to them, and also to women who do not understand, not just women, but everyone, both male and female, who are struggling with what does my identity entails? What can I tap in from there? So God is opening me to bring out to help them birth, the inheritance, the richness in the identity so that the world can tap into it and be who God wants them to be. So that's me.
And you say that women are not doing stuff. That is not a nutshell. That is almost an ocean, if you ask me. All right. Okay, next to you, Olabode.
Woohoo! I'm so excited to be here. I am pumped. I don't even know to use the word. When you have women like gathering in one place, I just hear the word collaboration. So as soon as I'm asking, I was like, yes, we're doing this. We're ready. We're joining you in this. I know this month we're celebrating women and we're just celebrating ourselves. Like you said, women do so much. So I'm so grateful to be here, to be part of this phenomenal startup you're doing. Because I know that after this, other people are going to start doing this as well, because this is great.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
my name is Olu Olabode. I'm a purpose midwife. I'm a speaker, a trainer, a coach. And really what I do is I help women unleash themselves from limitations of life, help them discover purpose and birth that purpose so that they can live intentional lives. because I find that for a lot of women, we want to live the life of purpose, but there's just so much holding us back, just like my sister said. And so that is my space. I just want to come alongside you and I help you to birth, make sure that you're bringing into birth everything that God has put on the inside of you.
Awesome.
I'm a podcaster as well, so I love to do this. And I'm just so excited about what we're going to be talking about today.
Awesome. All right. Welcome on board the Purpose Midwife, Okwashi. One thing I'm going to say before she comes on, is if you've been to an English class, you know the way you understand when you hear her speak. Over to you,
I'm shy. What am I going to say?
Don't be shy.
Hello everyone. I'm really honored to be in the midst of such amazing women. I'm rolling my eyes and going, what am I going to say? This is just huge. I was virtually running in from the city center. I have a salad next to me, which I'm looking at it, trying not to eat it while I'm talking. Yes. So for me, I call myself the unconventional educator. I am a business coach for education leaders. And so most of my work that I've done has been about education, but not education the way we see it. It's not education like schooling. I look at every other thing that impacts education. And so my podcast is called The Other Side of Education. One of my phrases I use a lot is that education is actually everyone's responsibility. It's actually something we all need to come together. So it's not that we can look at ourselves, especially as a nation or, whoever we are. I think if we look at it, one of the longest times or years that we've spent doing anything has actually been the aspect of getting ourselves educated to be, where we are today. So I think for me, I feel that there is a lot of power in getting educated. Now, that's educating yourself. It might not be that you're going to school or going back to school or doing a PhD, but just keeping your brain active. That lifelong learning is something we try and encourage. And so one of the words I've been using recently is activate. So I want to get people to activate their mindsets towards the bigger picture. All right. So it can, even people who, we work with a lot of school leaders, for example, or school owners, it's not really about you. It's not about the kids. It's not about your numbers in your school. There's something that is going on, so it's about nation build, it's about building up nations. It's a global thing. Okay. Because one little thing that we do in our little sphere, it impacts it. You might be the only person someone sees from your nation or from your, from where you are. And that's all they see and that's all they know. So, so that's it. I'm a business coach. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author, a wife, a mom. I have a team of people that I like working with people. I like people, and I'm a stationery addict. I have to just say that because I just yesterday I was telling the kid, I said I'm a stationery addict in a good way. So I think I don't know what it is about pens and markers and handwriting. I mean, just things. I just bought a box of I'm not ashamed to say 100 markers. I don't know what I'm going to do with 100 markers, but yeah. So.
That's good. Embracing yourself in that uniqueness. Amazing. All right. Next to is Ifeno. We call her Ifoma Omoni. She is the voice behind At Home with Ifeno. Let's hear you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today among wonderful women that, in fact, I don't even know what to use to describe every one of us. My name is Ifoma Neka Omoniyi. So that's how Ifeno came. Ifoma Neka. The N there is the Ifeno, Ifeno. So N there is Neka, and then O is Omoniyi. Interestingly, Ifeno came up even before I got married because my maiden surname was also an O. So I see Ifeno as a divine name, honestly. Yes, because I had that name from university before I even got married. So Ifeno is here. And I am a passionate homemaker.
Love that.
I am somebody that's, I have the passion for home, for families, because I believe that is the smallest unit of any society, of a nation, of an organization. If every one of us can get it right from home, then our problems will be minimal. So you see me anytime I get any information, even from today's interview, I've started getting some things that you see me. I want to go and download to my children. I want to see how I can break it down, to the smallest bits. So the home is my space. There was a day my children were asking me, Mommy, when we go to school, what do you do? I said, okay. I made a list. Immediately I dropped them. I did the school run. I started writing hour by hour what I was doing. When they came back and saw what I wrote, they were like, wow. They said, we thought you were bored, and they were like, okay, when you are not doing your business, because I run my business from home, what do you do? So I am somebody that there's always something for me to do. I can't get bored at home, not at all. So I'm a wonderful homemaker, excellent in it. You can come to my house anytime, and I'll be ready for you. When I
Wow.
say anytime, I won't be running to rearrange any place. It's as bad as that.
We need to come and learn from you.
I need a lesson on that.
That is major.
No, I'm very serious. If you come to my house right now and say I'm going to your bedroom, I will not tell you hold on. I'll say please
Wow.
come in, come
What?
in.
Wow.
It's as bad as that.
Well, not to bust your bubbles. I've known Ifeno for almost, is it 20 years now? We're in school
About that.
together. So what she's telling you is absolutely correct. On
Mm.
campus, then when we go visiting, if you're going to see Ifoma, her corner is always, this
Spick and span.
that is it clean and everything. You're like,
Wow.
you be asking yourself, are we in school or we're
I can see
somewhere
the
else?
priceless look on Emin.
So I can attest to that. Awesome. Guys, I have lovely women with me, in the studio today. I am blessed amongst women. Yes, I am. I'm just receiving that energy. So quickly, I'm going to raise this question. Before we came on set, I was telling you all that I didn't know the theme for this year's Women's Day International Women's Day celebration. I didn't know the theme. I just came across it, breaking biases, or breaking the bias. I beg your pardon. And I was like, okay, what has been on my mind is woman that was loosed, and somehow it's like it's rhyming. So I now asked myself, what exactly are these biases, or the bias that women are dealing with? Is it something they imagine, or it is actually there? So that is what we're going to talk about now. What are these, or what's the bias we are to deal with? I'm going to start with Kenny, and we'll flow in that direction.
Oh, okay. It's just gonna feel like I'm starting off from where Ifoma left it, because I think it started from the and has a lot of things to do with as well. So which means that a lot of things that we do, it is just when we grow up now that we start renewing our mindset. So when you grow up in a family whereby you're the only girl, or you're a girl that makes 3 boys, and there are certain opportunities that's coming up, and your parent goes on like, will let your brothers do that. Why not just go to the kitchen and go make something for everyone to eat? And then it starts from there. As a lady, you start picking it up that your role and your responsibility is just limited to be in the kitchen. Whereby if you grew up in a place whereby you have 3 girls in the house, there is no limitation, there's no biases. Then the parents, there's a formulation that comes with it. I don't know how that works, but I think it's happened from the generations, before us. So whenever you have 3 people in the house, then if they're girls, then there is the competition is not going to be as much as when you have boys in the house and then girls, and then there's separation between what they do. So the bias starts from there. You start growing up to think that I'm not meant for greater things. I'm meant to just go to the university, and maybe if you're fortunate, go for your master's education, and once you're done from there, just go to your husband and just be a full housewife. It is only just little women who can say that, no, I do not want to be like this. And I'm saying that these women would have been women who maybe they've seen what has happened in their family. Maybe their mom had some kind of limitations. They have to wait for their dad before they could get, money. And that child is growing up and thinking, no, I don't want to be like this. It is just that 1% of those women that would stand up and say, no, I am breaking this bias. I want to get married, and I still want to help my husband be that helpmate. I don't just want to sit down and wait and say, whenever I want to buy a pad, I have to wait for my husband to come and give me that £10 or to give me that £5. I want to work for it. I want to support that woman. So bias, sometimes I think the first place where it comes from is from the home. If the foundation is not being built properly, then we'll start having problem, when we get into the society.
Now, Purpose's wife, building on what she has said, it's like parents actually are to blame for this, or these biases, or this bias we're talking about. It's like they introduce it. So how do we, should I say, debunk this from that point of view?
Yeah. I love the way Kenny said it, because you just kind of, how would I say, almost kind of we're talking about my house. Really, because I grew up, I remember it was just my brother and I going to answer the question. My brother and I remember I still could picture as she was talking. My mom saying, okay, yeah, come in the kitchen with me. But my brother will be there sitting with my dad in the living room, watching sports or watching something. And I'm thinking, hello. But because of, like you said, almost like culture, kind of just told you this is your role, because women are natural nurturers as well. So we just kind of get into that. We start role playing from when we're little. We have our leaf soup, and I'm sure you guys will remember. And we will cook stew for the babies, and we will do all of those. Just role play, and then we kind of just gravitate into it. And our parents never really broke that into say, a boy is actually going to go and live by himself at one point in his life, and he's going to need somebody to cook his food. And I remember growing up, actually nobody really told me that thing, but because I saw it like that, when I became a parent, I had 3 boys, which was really interesting. So now I had 3 boys earlier on. My girl came much later. My girl is my last one. And so I told myself, this is not happening in this house. I'm not going to be a slave to you guys. I'm not going to be, I always said to myself, there's no housemaid in this house. We are all going to come in the kitchen. From the age of 5, I started teaching my 3 boys how to wash the toilets, you can make egg, you get the stool and you can do dishes. Why? Because I wanted to just say, like Kenny said, it all starts from the home. So as parents, if we can help our boys understand that nobody has that same, who says there's a role that a woman has to do everything in the home? Who said it has to be? Culture just dictates to us, and we just buy what culture says. And so we take it from the home, and then we take it into society. And now in the workplace, a guy is saying to a lady, sorry, you're going to have to stay here because that is how it's always been, and that's how it's always going to be. But somebody will say, no, I'm going to rise. I'm going to be a CEO here. I am not going to stay in that place where you say I'm going to be. But it starts really truly from the home. So I remember that for me as a parent, as a mom, I was intentional about making sure that all my boys knew how to cook. Until now, they still cook. My oldest is turning 19. Sometimes he makes your mommy, I'm making dinner. He makes food. My 15-year-old can cook. My 17-year-old can cook. And it's interesting that my daughter now cannot even cook as much as her brothers. That's interesting. Because I was intentional about the boys. Because of the way culture. Because I don't want the wife to say to them later in life, who was your mom that didn't even train you? So I thought I need to equip them so that when they go into the world, they can at least fend for themselves and be a help to somebody else.
Awesome. All right, before we continue, Kenny would have to leave us because she has another engagement to catch up with. But awesome having you with us this evening. And honestly, your contributions have been wonderful. Hope you'll come again when we call upon you.
Yes, it will be a pleasure to be back. Thank you so much, powerful women, and thank you so much, awesome man.
All right. Have a lovely evening. All right. So before I come to MM, I'll tell you guys a story. Ifeoma knows a little bit of this, but I'm going to share this with you guys. I'm from a home of eight boys. You know, no girl. Yes, the only girl I came to know was my mom. So yes, I'm number 5. You know, so my mom took special interest in me and wore me the clothes of a girl, like the responsibility of a girl. I started going to the market with my mom. I think, traditional Nigerian market, as we call it, not supermarket. Now, I started, I think, at the age of 9 or 10. So I just had that with me. So I do the cooking at home, do the chores, clean. They call me Mr. Kitchen. That's what they call me, you know, at home. My brothers call me that. So sometime in my career, you know, growing up, getting married, settling down and all whatnot, I was privileged to stay out, walk out, out of Nigeria for a period. So for 3 good months, my wife was not with me. So imagine what just kicked in. That natural thing that my mom instilled, so to say, just kicked in. So I would go to the store, the supermarket, get my stuff, look for the Nigerian shops in the neighborhood and all that. And my wife, when she came visiting at the time, was like, so you mean you can do all of these things? I said, what do you take me for? What do you take me for? So I understand when we say that our parents sometimes, create this scenario or atmosphere, and unconsciously we slip into it. And before you know it, the wider society is also, guiding us in that direction. Now, as an educator, how have you been dealing with this bias at that level?
Lovely. Thank you. That interestingly, there's an experience I normally refer to. So I have 2 sons. We have 2 sons and a daughter. And just like Alu also said, my sons, they cook. In fact, my older son, Damila, is so good at cooking that I call him. He's doing his master's, and I call him some days. I just bought some fish. What's the best seasoning? So he's on another level of cooking. My husband cooks really well too. So my dad used to cook really well. So for us, it was one of those things. We know that it's not typical. But it's one of those things that I was actually very intentional about. Also, I really wanted to make sure my boys know how to cook. But an experience that was very interesting. So when my first son, when he was in preschool, the teacher called me for a meeting. So he was like 2, and very serious face. And I'm like, "What's going on?" She says, "I don't know what to do. Dammy is always in the home corner." And she said he's always in the home corner, and I'm trying to get him to play with the cars.
Wow.
So I said, "Okay, so what's the problem?" "He shouldn't be in the home corner. He's a boy."
How?
Wow. I've never forgotten that she called me for a meeting.
Wow.
She called us for a meeting on this matter, and I'm like, okay, so I said, okay, so I spoke to her and I said, number one, for us at home, this is not what we do. Everyone takes part. The men around him cook. He cooks. He's very interested. Even as a little baby, he's always very interested in coming into the kitchen. So, and I would, and she's like, still, I said, yes, he still plays with the cars. He drives. He knows who he is and all, so I found that as we're talking about the home. So imagine this teacher is already, if she had her way, I'm sure she would have tried to scrub it out of his head. Don't go out of it. If she had her way, I'm sure she would have probably been beating him or pinching him to get him to come out of that area. And so one of the things you find even in school, because teachers also have been conditioned with this mindset, many people have skills that they want to explore. And people will tell you things like, that's not for you to study. Go and study, go and do education. You're a girl. Go and do this. Or yeah, sorry, yeah. Yeah, so they tell you things like, oh, don't do STEM or don't go and do this. So from the home it starts, and then we now get to school where the people who are meant to be teaching us are also grooming us for future relevance, are also implanting these ideas into our heads. And so it's something that it must be a national call. There must be like an awareness campaign, and parents, everyone must be so strong about what it is. And then another thing that also happened recently too, just so these examples are also very significant for me. You would think that we would know better, and we think that we all know better. So I was talking to my daughter, and she was like, our daughter is 15, and she says, she wants to do this, she wants to work in this, and she wants to just get a great job. She's even thinking the kind of house she wants to build. So I'm looking at her like, you want to build a house? So what do you want? I'm the one, me. I should know better, And I'm saying, you want to build a house? What's your husband going to be doing? She says, they better have a job too. I'm not going to waiting for this girl's 15. In fact, this thing was last year. We're having this conversation. She's like, I'm not going to wait for someone before I get to do it. I said, I intend to be a successful person. I don't want to wait for. And I'm looking at her like, even me that should know better, and I think that I don't have this bias. I'm looking at her in Harvard when she's saying she wants to build a house, she wants to run this successful business, and everything. And I'm going, okay, so you're gonna get a man someday or something too. She's like, yeah, he should have a job. He should be doing something too, So it's a whole thing. There's so many dimensions to bias and us having those preconceived ideas of who should be doing what. So we need to actually probably do a reset, and especially in the education field where children are meant to be able to discover. Give them opportunities to discover things. That's why you want to make sure you get it right. Let them discover. Let them try out things. Let them be exposed to new experiences. There's one summer we did sewing, cooking, and different things. We were shocked that all the boys chose the sewing. We had sewing machines. We used to have summer camps.
You can imagine.
And we had to call some of the parents. Is it okay? Because the boys, thank God they were very liberal. They're like, that's fine. These boys were engrossed. I have a picture of some of the boys trying to thread the thing. Because many of them were like, nobody's going to allow you to do sewing where at home. How are you going to say you want to go to sewing school? How, So we need to allow these people to explore. Even as us as parents, if it's something we're not doing or we haven't been doing that, when children are showing some interest, don't go too crazy and start thinking, oh my God, this boy is turning into a girl. Sometimes we let our minds go too far. Because, guide them, encourage, talk to them, communicate, see the best way. And then you can find better ways to encourage them to try other things too. So I think that aspect of exploring, opening up our minds, trying to every day make that commitment to open up our minds, to not limit our thoughts and, not just go, okay, girls should be doing this and boys should be doing that. Relearn, be willing to relearn, be willing to just refresh your brain, open up your brain and say, let me give more opportunities. So I think from the angle of education and home, that's something I think I would want to say. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. And then as we're speaking, one beautiful, wonderful lady just popped into the studio. I wouldn't say she broke the ranks, but she's here. Her name is Ibina.
I can hear. Let me try and get the sound.
ID, you're welcome. She's the voice behind that show called ID Speaks. ID, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Hi, ID. Good to have you here.
Hello, how are you? Hello,
Awesome.
Ifoma. How are you?
I'm fine. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ivy. So as Enem was speaking, Ivy, I'll come to you shortly. Okay,
Yes.
and
Okay.
just came back now. As Enem was speaking, sharing that story, what came to my mind was a piece I read about. Okay, no, I listened rather. Chimamanda Adichie, when she was given, I think it was in Belgium or Germany somewhere. She was talking about nurturing, about cooking and all that. And this story of boys are not meant to cook, girls are meant to cook. So she asked the question, if something as powerful as nutritious food should be meant for only the women, don't you think that is unjust? That only the women should do something as beautiful as bringing ingredients together to create a wonderful meal. The guys should also be encouraged to do that. So when you were talking, that just popped up, and I think culture, which has been, should I say, elevated by our parents, somehow is to blame for this, I mean, bringing it into the children. Oh, you're not meant to do this. Oh, you're meant to do that. It goes to buttress what scripture says: train up a child in the way he or she should go. Just forget about it. They will pursue it to the end. So if you put them on that track, that path, that is what you're going to see. So Ivy just came in, so we're going to allow her introduce herself. Then Ifeoma will come in on that conversation. Who is Ibinabo Enebi?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Ibinabo Enebi, and just yesterday I was having a conversation with Amakri, and I was asking Amax, who am I or what am I? And he said, "You are a pathfinder." And I'm like, wow.
I love that.
And yes, and so I've put that now as who am I, as who I am actually. So actually, yes, I think I'm a pathfinder because I am a content creator. I have a YouTube channel called Ibinabo Edebi, and I have a website. It's a blogging site. It used to be One Womanity, and it's now ibinaboenebi.com. And collectively on those platforms, what I do is I bring in people, experts, people, thought leaders, and and everyday people that share stories. And their stories, I say, serve as streetlights and survival kits for people who are coming, behind us. So yes, I'm a pathfinder, and I use stories to help people find their paths in life.
All right, she's a pathfinder. Oh, if I just had a little issue, if I'm try and reconnect, she's a pathfinder. IB is how am I going to describe her? Beyond the pathfinding and all that, she's somebody who is boisterous. If she's full of energy, always like she wants to like dissipate that energy somewhere, and she just looking for and all that. IB,
Thank you.
So we've been talking about breaking the bias. Ifeoma just had a little glitch. I know she's going to reconnect. And before you came on, we had somebody who had to leave also to catch up with another activity, and we began that conversation. The bias, where does it all begin? And somehow all of you, in unison, is saying that the home has a lot to play, about this bias created in the minds of the women. Ivy, what's your take on this?
Wow, I'm so sorry that I didn't start from the beginning, right?
Okay.
Because my thought process about biases is a little bit different from the conversation that I heard And by the way, I think you spoke fantastically well. Just yesterday, I was at a forum that I spoke about breaking the biases. And for me, I see that in as much as we have biases, I don't know the right word to say now, against us women, I think that we have to do some housekeeping even within the womanhood, that sometimes women have biases against themselves. So for example, if we have a woman who is a widow, or we have a lady who dropped out of school, or who isn't in the right, or rather isn't in a circle of ideal, generally speaking, I think that we have biases even against such women. And I'd also say biases against even people who we feel that are less of us. And, so generally speaking, and I was going to say that, in the speech that or rather in this discussion that I had yesterday, I said that I came from a family of 9 women and 4 boys and 4 men, and my sisters my older sisters are in their 70s and in the 60s, my early 70s and 60s. And at the time when my mother was having all of us, all girls, she had the first 7 children were girls, and then 2 boys, and then a girl, and then a boy, and then a girl and a boy. At the time, it was like, if you had a girl child, you didn't have children. Yeah. And so, but then, you would think that my mother was going to be supported by women, but she was trampled by women because they said, number one, she was giving back to children like rabbits. And whenever she got pregnant, her pregnancies and her deliveries were non-consequential because they said she was going to give birth to another insignificant child. So, having girls, every time my mother popped out a baby girl, my father's value as a man seemed to diminish because, oh, girl, it's a girl again. But again, I thank God for men like my father who stood the ground, who felt that it was important to educate girls, and who gave a voice to girls to the degree that because of what he stood for, that men in my community were confident to have all female children because they felt that whatever the boys could do, that the girls could do. So I see us all the time trampling on women, and that consciousness or thought process hasn't changed. For example, I have a friend of mine, Abimbola Benjamin. She was widowed 7 years ago at 45. And she says that women have been biting women since 19 Gogoro. She had 4 kids, and immediately she lost her husband. And I love her so much because she's brilliant, very hardworking girl. She was stigmatized by her friends. Her circle of friends changed because she had lost her husband, and some people felt that, oh my God, she's going to be a liability, or we don't want, when you're a widow, then it becomes infectious, you're like a plague, so we don't want you to come close to us. So I see all the time that women are cannibalizing each other, and then, but then we keep saying, break the biases. So we have to do housekeeping within ourselves to make sure that people within our ranks are looked after, and then we can come for justice and equity with clean hands. And another bias that I see is being biased even against ourselves. So we have these mind frames and thought processes that become like a cage that cages us. So even without even you being biased against, you feel that I can't do this. It's never been done before. There's nobody that done this before in my family. You self-sabotage. You have the imposter syndrome and all of that. So even without even the society being biased against you, you're biased against yourself. So for me, I look at it in those lights that we have to break the biases that we have against women and then against ourselves. And once we do that, then we can now step out and begin to challenge the biases that society has against us. So that's the perspective which I want to look at it.
I thank you for this side, because I was going to bring it up, but somehow you just brought it up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I had the same conversation yesterday, and so I had this very same conversation when you look at women fighting women, women not supporting women. But I think that narrative is changing because where should I say, becoming more enlightened, more aware, and seeing ourselves better. So first of all, you need to see yourself in that woman, as in you're a woman, she's a woman. Whatever she's facing, hello, let us turn the tables. It might be you. So why not reach out to her and support her genuinely, not necessarily because you want to curry some favor or whatsoever. Then again, dealing with that bias yourself, your mind frame. Like the person I had a conversation with, Coach Eden, that's her name. To be, we'll get to hear that conversation because I'll bring it up much later, as in online, and we're all going to listen to it. She was like opening up herself, things she had gone through, and telling herself, this will not stop me. For those of us who know her, you know her, this will not stop me. And when she was talking, it's like somebody walked into the room and poured an ice bucket, a bucket with ice on me. I felt this goosebumps all over me. For a woman to be open like this. So that is it. You're not owning your problem, but you're telling your problem. You can't own me, more or less. And that bias is broken off you, and boom, you move. So that's why I actually had my own International Women's Day thing as woman thou art loosed. Jesus said to the lady, you are loosed.
Yeah.
You touched her. I said, you're loose. Go. So it's like, you've been free all this while. But now I'm telling you, I'm touching you. Woman, you were loose. You were free. Go and live your life. Thank you. Thank you for that dimension you brought. Even when you had a little issue with your line use, you fell off and you're back again. Yep. No,
Yeah.
you're what? It's okay. It's one of those things. Now, what's your take on what Ivy has, just presented, dealing as a woman, dealing with that bias with in another, should I say, fellow woman?
Yes, many times people say, be careful when you see women gather. It doesn't take long. Very soon they'll start fighting, or you see jealousy. And interestingly, last week I was discussing with a female friend of mine, and we got talking, and I was telling her that I started a Bible study group of homemakers. I had that inspiration, and I got the inspiration from another Bible study group I still belong to, and we are all women. So she got interested and I told her that the first Bible study group I belong to, we are not from this, we are from different, in fact, we don't stay in the same city. Somebody is in Kaduna, another person, different parts of the world, and we do different things, but we have that common whatever. But she was interested that we had stayed for 3 going to 4 years, and she was wondering, so what has really happened in the course of years? And it sounded strange. And I was like, I don't understand. What are you expecting will happen? She said because she has found out that she has been in groups where she doesn't last. And I said, why won't you last? He said it's either there will be one argument or the other. And I was like, okay. My experience is different because the first group I belong to inspired me to start one that was really unique. All of us are homemakers. And the interesting thing about this group, 3 of us out of 4 we bake. We are bakers. We bake cakes. And interestingly, I discovered that the 3 of us that bake cakes, we are strong in different areas of baking cake. One person is very good with fondant decoration. Another person is wow with buttercream. The fondant person is not so good with the buttercream decoration. And me, I am the pro in plain fruit cakes, as in she's very good. She's very good
Wow.
in fondant. She's always looking forward to come and eat my fruit cake. She even told me send the recipe. Another thing we do, we exchange recipes. And we are bakers. We are in the same business, but there is no competition there. In fact, the fourth person I worked with, it was after I prayerfully brought us together. I just discovered that we are bakers. So she was like, this is very interesting. And she started asking that, God, show me what you are trying to tell me. I'm in the midst of bakers and I don't know how to bake. But she has a daughter that likes baking. So I said, you better join the league. And I've been thinking, honestly, from this group, I believe that there's something God wants to use us to do. So, like I said, we share recipes. I could call one of my bakers and say, please, what's the name of the oil you used in that your recipe? And she will tell me honestly. She's not afraid. I have even bought cakes from both of them. I have ordered cakes from both of them. So I just want to use this to say that you could still have women that are collaborating, that are helping each other, that I've not seen any form of bitterness. Then they bring the issue of, sorry, I have to be very practical. They bring the issue of you are doing contribution with women. Be careful, money matters. These 2 groups I belong to, we have been doing contribution and there has been no default, no problem. Everybody has been getting their share due dates. I don't really know. Maybe it's a different category of women I have come across. But one thing I want to say is there is no need for the competition. There is no need. I believe that we should even be happy when we see our fellow women doing great things. We should fight for each other. We should push ourselves. We should encourage ourselves. If there's anything I know God has helped me to do is to encourage the women that I come across, to help them push their ideas. There's nothing wrong in advertising something a friend of yours is doing, even if you're not going to gain from it. There's nothing wrong because when she wins, she will not also be a burden to you. That's how I see it. When she is happy, she will not bring those burdens to you, and you too will be happy. So we can The story is changing. The story is changing.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I promised you guys that we're going to be here for 45 minutes, but honestly, am I sure? Am I sure?
Wow.
Okay, we're going to do it a little bit, say maybe another 10 minutes there about. Before I come back to the purpose midwife, I think most of this bias or biases, as whatever you want to describe it, are myths. Things that were created by somebody. Let me buttress this. One of my teachers, his name is Charles Okebuno. He told a story in one of our sessions about somewhere I think in the Midwest as the United States. Then they had this kind of oven. When you're preparing the chicken to put in the oven, you need to cut the chicken into two, squeeze it, as in cut the chicken into two parts, fold it properly, and put into the oven. It's been like from generation to generation, they've been doing it like that. Now they have a big oven, and they're still doing it that way. So somebody was like, he had to ask the question, why are we cutting this chicken this way? The oven is big enough. Why not just, put the whole thing in there? And somebody now, one surviving member of that generation, now smiled and said, let me tell you guys the story behind cutting of this chicken in two. It's because then we had a small oven. So this chicken could not fit in. So what do? We need to cut it into two, bend it over, and put it in. And somehow it just became a tradition that you must cut the chicken into, even when you have a very big oven. So most of this biases we deal with as women are myths that were passed down from generation to generation, and somehow they are encoded in our DNA. And just like, I can't help myself, but like he said, woman, thou art loose. What's your take on this?
I'm just laughing away as if everyone was talking, because the podcast I released today says, woman, never forget, each one is special, each one is needed. And I'm so big on, I got this, I don't know how to put it, this understanding that each one of us has a flavor that we bring to the table. Every one of us. Awesome. When you're going to cook a pot of soup, if you put just salt in it, you don't get the full taste of what you need. You need some Maggi there, you need some, add some no, you need to put some bay leaf in, maybe you're making jollof rice. You need to put every seasoning. And I always say that every one of us has a different flavor that is needed in that pot of soup. And so when we begin to see that, like you said, I was in a lunch yesterday, I was saying, competition and collaboration. Competition is that we don't even need competition, because there is enough room for all of us. When we collaborate, we can go further. And so I believe it's a new narrative that we're bringing now. We're saying, okay, you know what? Maybe in the past, that was the bias that was there, but let's reinvent the wheel. Yeah. Just like Ivy was saying, and kind of mentioned that as well. Let's reinvent the wheel and say, you know what? How can I collaborate? I was saying yesterday, I said, if you're in politics and there are people in your sphere of influence, who can you collaborate with?
Yeah.
If you're in the education industry, you want to do something, look around you and say, look at what information is. That's wonderful. They're bakers. And there's, okay, like if you're going to have an exhibition, you're looking around saying, who have, somebody knows how to do the fondant part of it. Somebody knows how to do fruitcake very well. Who can I collaborate with in my sphere of influence? So I think reinventing it, changing our mindsets and thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe it might have been in the past, we learned that we had to protect our space and just do our thing by ourselves and just kind of think, you know what? I don't want anybody to know what I know. But in this new narrative, women doing great things, we need to think, if I want, like John Michael says it a lot, if you go by yourself, you're only going to go as far. But if you go with people, you're going to go farther. If you want to go farther as women, let's reinvent it and say, you know what? Who can I collaborate with? Who is doing something that I want to do, or something that is going to, who can I learn from? Who can I do it with? And we'll find that as women, as we begin to do that, guess what? We each unleash our greatness to our world. Yeah. We each unleash our flavor.
And then I'll come to you on this, because there's a lot of noise. What do I mean by a lot of noise? Recently in Nigeria, the National Assembly came up with some alien, I call them alien to our way of life. They more or less told us that the women are not important. They are second class and all that. And some women got together, they protested, and yesterday I saw from the National Assembly handle, they had to restrain on that decision, or should I say that policy, But now there is this noise out there, within the women the feminine universe, permit me to use that word. How, from your point as an educator, how do we curate this noise and direct it for it to be potent?
I think, thank you again. I think one of the things that Ella was just talking about when you use the word, like instead of reinventing the wheel. One thing I always say is, use the term refresh your mindset. It's a lot of work. We may think that, starting with 1, 2, 3 of us is like little pitter patter of rain, and then it begins to build up and then becomes a flood.
Yeah.
This is what they're saying about us, but this is not who we are. And so it's really important for us to really know who we are. So the government and the National Assembly can do that. And it's good. The women are protesting. That's fine. But we should not let that define us and walk around and go, oh, yeah, they don't think that we're anything. I mean, I'm actually really shocked to see the reasoning. I mean, the bills were the number of people that didn't pass a bill. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Is this even happening? So you don't want women in government, but that doesn't define us. That does not mean that we can still have a role and we can still go on fighting, so we're not defeated. We're not defeated, So there's something I would say, it's important for us to always continue to check ourselves, and I'll use the phrase again, refresh our mindset. There's one of the second books I started writing. It's called That Time They Call Me Nigger, and it's not. And I wrote that in brackets. It's not a hate book. So growing up, we lived in a lot of countries, traveling with my dad, and this thing about bias is what bias actually means is that there are actually no facts to back up what you are thinking. So these things that you're saying is not proven. There's nothing there to hold it and say, yeah, this is real. Like she was speaking about women fighting, and I don't even go anywhere with that mindset. Anywhere I go, I walk into places that are like 20,000 nationalities. I don't go there and start feeling, ooh, I'm black. I mean, I love this complexion. Like nobody can tell me nothing. I'm telling you, and I always tell everyone. I mean, I always say that I love colors. This is not even black. This is caramel. Oh my god! I love that. At this, so who can tell you? Who can be telling you who you are? So I think for us, it's important that we know who we are and continue to build ourselves up and continue to be that best. So the government, do what you like. Keep doing what it is. And I love the idea of the protests, but those things should translate to us looking at ourselves again, seeing, okay, I want to feature in government. I want to be speaking more in government. What do I need to do? How do I educate myself? How do I empower myself some more? Who do I collaborate with? So I don't go into. I went for a meeting once, and they put us in groups. So there were all men on my table, and then they said we should choose a secretary, choose a chairperson. And all of these men turned and looked at me. Like I think there were 12 of them. I was the only lady on that table. They said, "Aha, you be the secretary." So I
Why
said,
should I be the secretary?
Yes. So I said, oh, actually, I wanted to be the chairperson. And then not only were these just men, they're northern men, so this was in Abuja, and they're all like, madam, we're like, and I'm like, so I decided.
I like that.
Yeah, because it was so funny. They looked at me and said, "You be the secretary." I said, "Oh, I was actually coming here to be the chairperson."
Why should I be the secretary?
So I'm saying, so it's really important for us to know who we are. I'm not a fighter person. I believe that diplomacy can get you, oh my goodness, it can get you so much stuff. So
that's your style of fighting, diplomacy.
That's my style. That's how I fight my own battles and things. So yes, it's important that we refresh our minds and let nobody tell you who you are. Keep building yourself up to be the bestest version. Keep getting yourself, build your capacity, educate yourself, develop yourself to that level where prepare yourself, practice in front of, the mirror. You who says you can be the president? Who says you can play those roles? Okay, so the thing about bias is that they're unfounded. Someone has it in the back of their mind, but they're not proven. So you prove it. You build yourself to the point where you can prove that you actually are the person for these things, that we can actually achieve these things that we want to be, that we can rule the nation, that we can do the things that people are saying that we can. So, and that's what I think I love about that. Woman, thou art loose. Give yourself permission and then build yourself up to be that person, or those people. Let's come together. So all the noise we make, that's fine. But let's look at ourselves and see, what do I really need? What skills do I need? Who do I collaborate with? This is where I want to be. Let's get ourselves there. Okay, nothing should stop us. So that's our mindset. Yeah.
I love that mindset. We walk into a room, we all sit down to do a job, and you call me to be the secretary. Excuse me. What gave you that impression that I didn't come here to be the chairman of the board? Or is it because of the woman? So do you know why I say that? Fortunately, I've been working with women all my life. In university, my department, till date, I'm still in touch with almost all of them. We were about 110, I think, in number. Then 79 were women. So give or take, do the math. Yeah, do the math. So somehow relating with my mom, so I know how to deal with women. So I'm always in the midst of them. And there's something at that level I came to realize when it comes to decision making, they always run away and they push the men. And I tell them, why should you do that?
Ourselves need to work it ourselves, huh?
I know some of them are listening to me. They will attest to that. One of them, we were having a conversation the other day, and she said, "You are like a big brother to us because you always tell us things we could do." I said, "Excuse me, we're here. We want to make a decision." And you say, "Okay, the guys will do." No. Why should the guys be the ones? Why? Because you are a guy and you are what? So give yourself that permission to breathe, to live, to become, to be. Ivy, you've been writing so much. Are you writing a book?
I'm not writing a book, but I love
the secretary for today's show.
I need your voice in what MM just said now. Giving yourself the permission to become, to be.
Yeah.
How do we go about that? Giving yourself the permission.
Well, I think that that sometimes, and I just want to touch on what I said a little bit. I think that we have been programmed. They programmed us that if you go into a room as a woman, you don't step forward. You don't. When you step forward, it means you're too forward. You don't. We've been conditioned to not to take, leadership positions and all of that. So when MM said, "Who told me I came to be the secretary?" I came to be. I really like that, and I think that a lot of that kind of thinking processes is changing. That a lot of men are empowering their children, their daughters, to think wide and think that they can become all that they can possibly become. And I think that also that we live in the world now where the narrative is also changing. That women are beginning to become breadwinners, and women are doing things that men couldn't do, or rather, women are beginning to do those things that they couldn't do in the past. Like I grew up, like I said, in the family where there were 9 girls and 4 boys, and I grew up an empowered woman because whenever my father wanted something done, apologies, my brothers, he just knew that once he told my sisters, it was done and dusted, done. So he gave us a voice. We challenged traditions. We challenged the narratives. Even when he died, tradition couldn't hold us back because he had given us a voice. So for me, I grew up, as a woman, not afraid to speak my mind, not afraid to take up responsibilities. And I'm also opening up myself again more. So if someone tells me, "Do you want to do this?" Yeah, I want to do it. Even if I'm not sure, I can do it and do it wobbly, but I'll do my best and make sure that that I do it properly. Now, there's something else I wanted to talk about when Ellen was saying about the women, the House of Assembly, whatever. I think that, one of the reasons why we're protesting, or the ladies are protesting, was because I don't know what was happening when the bills were being passed, where I'm sure there's some women politicians there. Were we not reading what was happening? Were we not informed to come to the table? You know what I mean? So I think that we should, and again, that also comes from the point where we're like, we don't speak up, even when they're saying things about us that doesn't work right for us, don't speak up. So I think that we should speak up. We should be more informed. We should be more informed and be willing to speak up. And we should learn the language of negotiation. Sometimes aggression wouldn't help it. The protest wouldn't help it. And I like what MM does. She's a diplomat. She loves to be diplomatic. So we have to learn the language of negotiation to get the results that we want. But for us to get those results, we have to understand what we're fighting. So we have to come informed and learn to collaborate with other women like us, and complement one another.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Guys, I have been discussing with these amazing women, celebrating the International Women's Day and also the month of March for women, because we will go on and on the World Cafe podcast this March to talk about women, celebrate them and all that. You will agree with me, we've been having an amazing time, but they are women. And, by this time of the day, they need to take care of, the home front. So I won't keep them for long anymore, So,
We didn't say so.
Well.
You that's stereotyping now, because like
Is that stereotyping? Oh my God! I just put myself on.
Like putting you on the spot.
All right, putting me on the spot. Yes, honestly, I'm glad you guys took this time to do this with me. But time is never enough. I know when I call upon you again for us to do this, you will. Oblige. But before I let all of you go, I'm going to take one final. English will call it one final word, but you and I know it's more than a word. I'm going to start with the purpose midwife. I'll go to IB, come to MM, and come to Ifoma. Your take as we say bye-bye.
Wow, this has been so good. Like, I can't even explain. I've had so much fun. Thank you, Amax, for doing this. This has been so good. And my last thing I want to just chip in is, women, let's show up. I was saying this yesterday in the question. I said, women, let's show up. If you're in the home front, show up for your children. If you're called into politics, if that's why your sphere of influence you're called into, show up there. If you're called into entertainment, show up there. If you're called into ministry, show up there. Wherever sphere of influence you're called into, show up there. If we show up, I believe that it starts with, even sometimes we don't feel like we're qualified, but you just show up and let everything else start to work from there. Just show up like you're ordained to show up and be ready to do what you're called to do.
Awesome. Just show up. Ivy?
In addition to showing up, just do it afraid, regardless. Just do it. Do it. And I also want to say that we women should be a network that supports one another, a net that works. So when we should complement and complement one another and change the narrative. So I am applauding you. I am standing for you. I support you. I encourage you. Let's change the narrative and become that net that works for one another.
Awesome. And then,
lovely. I think these are just awesome words. I think one thing also to remind us is to continue to adapt that mindset where we are constantly building up ourselves and equipping ourselves. Again, we're not saying go back to school. We're not throwing anyone to go and do a PhD. Read a book. Just activate your brain. Let your brain be active. Okay, because these are the things, you're building up mastery. And so as we're grooming ourselves to get to these places, even at home, children have access to so much stuff that if we're not careful, they know a lot more. I mean, they do know quite a lot, more than us to an extent in some areas. So you just want to continue to be the best version of yourself in every little thing that you do. Whether you're a homemaker, learn more, learn something new. Keep activating your brain. Keep getting yourself equipped. All right. If it's to whatever, the handwriting, so there are no limits anymore nowadays because we have access to so much information, and it might be just something as collaborating with a group like what she has done with the Bible study. You may have a group of people where you're learning new skills, new words, how to do public speaking, whatever it is you want to prepare yourself for. Be determined, set a goal, and work towards it. Okay, so keep your brain active, keep learning. So that's what I would say to you. Yeah. So equip yourself, keep yourself equipped.
A rolling stone gathers no moss, more or less. Keep moving on. Ifeno?
And I will say, as we keep moving on, let's know that freedom comes with a price. As we have been declared loose, there's a price. There's a responsibility to our freedom. We have been set free to free others. We have been set to go and lose others. We have been loved to go and love others. Let's not keep it to ourselves. Sometimes we feel generosity is about giving money, material things. But even as MM has told us about refreshing ourselves, let's share the information we have. Let's share the knowledge that can help the next person. It should not be something we must gain from. When one person wins, we all win. Thank you.
Whoa. Wow. Guys,
open the table.
Yes.
Wonderful. I told you from the beginning of the show, I am blessed amongst women. You can imagine, all the conversations that have been going on in this room this moment. I mean, they are treasures to me. Wow. I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. Guys, you know how we do it on the show? We come into the room, the word cafe, to lean on each other, learn from each other's experience and grow. Yes, I am your host, Amakri Isoboye. You know how I say it? I believe in the power of words. Why? They are the unit of creation. Till I come your way again, March is for women. I have more women coming on the show and we'll see more treasures from them. Thank you. God bless you. Bye. bye for now. Let me hear bye from all the women. Let me get bye.
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 Nice seeing you all. Thank you so much.
Wow.